experiences.
And I think that the fact is not everybody is doing it. And Jay and Alex proved that the most important thing is to talk as a family.
Yeah.
We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
I'm doing it, and I'm really like...
Grape Nuts Discover the Difference Week. Your week to discover how breakfast with Grape Nuts helps keep you going all morning.
When I was 16 years old.
Yeah. How'd you find out about her? Am I correct that she has been sexually active since she was 50?
Right.
And you discovered this?
She was going with, well, how I discovered it was I was at a writer's conference and I'd grabbed up a pad of paper and I found some notes, and it happened to be her pad of paper, and I'd found some notes that she wrote to her boyfriend at that particular time that did not say anything specific but said enough to make me start wondering. And then also her and most of her girlfriends, that was always a big subject. I mean, you know, who was sexually active with whom?
You heard her talking on the telephone?
Well, and girls that were staying all night with her or, you know, over at our house or whatever, and they were always talking about who was sexually active with whom.
At age 15 you heard this?
Yes.
And I assume that the first response was not my baby.
Of course. I think every parent thinks, my child won't get involved in that.
Mm-hmm. And when did you first have a conversation with her about that? Can you excuse me here just a moment? Let me see if I can help.
When was it?
Yes, I know. This is... Okay, now we'll go through that.
About 3 months ago.
I'll do anything to get on camera, huh? Amy, we should let you in here. Tell us about your first conversation with... You love your dad. He was always a... I assume you think he was sometimes old-fashioned, but there's no doubt that you respect him. Do we understand it? You guys have a good relationship.
Very good relationship.
Yeah. And so, was there a moment, a time?
Well, one day he just pretty much asked me if I had, and...
I bet you lied.
At first I lied, and then I was on the phone with my friend. Should I tell him the truth, and just get it over with? And I decided to just go ahead and talk to him. But for a long time I didn't feel I could, because my parents had always told me that they'd cry if they found out or something. So I felt guilty about telling him. And I didn't feel I could go to him at first. But then we started talking.
Amy, gray-haired preacher looking down at you from a high moral mountain. But we would like, if you can, and Brian, get in on this as well. Tell me.
No, I don't know.
I mean, why should this be a apparently routine way to express yourself to a young man at age 16, 15?
Well, I don't think it's really routine.
But,
I mean...
All right, so episodic. It happens.
It depends on how you feel about the person, I think. It should be that way.
So it's not like a recreation. It's more like someone you really care about.
Yeah. Care about the person. Some people don't.
Brian, how would you answer that?
I don't know. I think when I first had sex, and she was, and and it just it just escalated. What we would do each time. Whenever we make out, it just kind of escalated, and then it just went up to having sex. And I mean, it wasn't bad, because we both really liked. Most people's first time is when they like someone a lot, and then after that it's just they go out and like drink and whatever, and then they're like comfortable with just going out and having sex, and everybody likes it. Like most people do, they are not forced into their first time.
You're intimate. There are no more secrets, are there? And there's almost a kind of expectation, assuming the relationship continues. I assume that it's not very likely that you would be intimate with a young woman and then you... Excuse me, we're trying to do it. Isn't that so? I mean, that's an important question, isn't it? I mean, that's an issue of that's a part of the pattern of the behavior, isn't it?
Yeah.
How am I doing here, Amy? In other words, if you go to bed with a boy and you continue to date him, it's not, it's likely you're going to...
It might not stop. I've dated guys since that I haven't had sex with.
Rachel? Once the intimacy has happened, the intimacy, if the relationship continues, will continue to happen, right?
Yes, completely.
This is not the dream you planned for your daughter, Jim.
Not exactly, no.
You love your grandchild.
Oh, absolutely.
You will always.
Absolutely.
And when this baby starts to cry, give her to you, Jim. And the three of you are cohabiting then, the same?
The three of us, and Rachel has 3 sisters.
Let me just see if I can. The three of you are.
Hey, Chloe.
This is.
Rachel. 18. Rachel's 18. Then
Yeah.
I have 3 other daughters, 13 through 16, 13, 15, and 16. And Rachel is 18. And all 4 of them live with me, as well as 8 months old.
8 months
Almost
old.
8 months old.
This is.
And,
You know, how old are you? You're not ancient yourself, Jim.
Well, I don't let anybody call me Chloe, and she can't say it yet.
How old are you, Jim?
I'm 39.
You're 39. You have 4 daughters.
I have 4 daughters.
And a grandchild.
And a granddaughter.
And his father visits regularly.
And his father visits regularly.
And you like him. You like the father.
I like him. He's a 19-year-old, or 20. I think he's 20 now. 20-year-old kid. But he's a nice kid.
Well,
I don't dislike him.
Yeah. So what's to be learned here, panel? Before our first break here, what is the point? You know, all of us would like to avoid this. Here's mommy. All right. So what?
I think the important thing is open communications. Is to keep the communications, whether it's what you want to hear or not. As long as you're communicating, you got a chance to work things out.
Nobody does, though. Everybody does. Get in here. Andrea. I'm sorry, you're not Andrea. You're Diane. Diane, Scott has not yet had sex.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So, what's worrying you, Mom? What's he saying? What's here?
What's worrying
Yeah.
me? A lot worries me. It worries me that he will. It worries me that he's going to get a girl pregnant. It worries me that he might get AIDS. It worries me that he's not going to be ready.
Do you have evidence to believe that he might be capable of intimate behavior in the near term?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't see anything. He still tells me
in the case of
things.
Rachel,
Yes.
I think 3 months before she became pregnant, she and her mother went to the doctor for the very specific purpose of birth control. Turned it down because she said she wasn't being intimate with anyone at that point and had no plans to.
Is that right?
And about 3
It
months.
better be right.
No, it was long before I got pregnant, but that is right.
You turned down the pill
Yes.
because you just felt you didn't need it.
Well,
I see.
many times when you try not ready, I don't need that talk for a couple of years or something.
Right.
That's
And
just
so,
to avoid getting the conversation from the parents.
So I mean, I believe in the communication, but it also...
It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, it is harder than it looks.
We'll be back to let this audience ask their own questions about real live people who are living very upstanding lives. These people go to school. They don't run away from home. They don't abuse women physically, but they are like millions of their peers, expressing themselves intimately, boys and girls. What would you care as a parent to do about this? And we'll be back in just a moment.
C, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
You wanted to say.
I'd just like to say to the woman on the end that I think the way that you're handling it with your son is excellent, because it's difficult for parents to handle their children having sex, but that if your son is going to be having sex, I don't think there's much you can do about it, and to serve as an information source is probably the best thing you can do.
You're talking to Scott and Diane. Yeah.
Well, beyond the fact that you're all having sex, are you in monogamous relationships, or?
I am.
Who is?
I've been with the father for 2 years, and I'm not right now.
You, have we got
Yeah,
PA
no,
here?
no.
I can't hear these guests.
I'm
You're,
not.
so you're not seeing it?
No, I'm not doing anything with anybody.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm dating someone.
How old is she?
She's a junior. She's 17.
You met her mom?
Yes, I have. I think it's great that you're waiting because you've got to respect yourself. There's so many diseases you can get, and besides AIDS, people don't think that you can get gonorrhea, syphilis, millions of diseases people don't think about, and condoms don't protect you from those diseases always. And so many forms of contraception people don't know about. So I think it really, if you're going to respect yourself, it's best to wait.
Scott? I believe that she's probably right. I have heard some, wait a couple years, get a car.
Yeah, that's true. And not too many diseases passed. There, caller, you wanted to say.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I'd like to say that I didn't wait to have sex. I was 15, and I'm married now. I'm 22, and I wish I would have waited because it wasn't with the first time with my husband. And I'm really happy. And I think that everyone should reconsider the first time. I don't think it's what anyone thinks it's going to be. And I don't think there's any rush. We have our whole life, and I would really be cautious about it. You know, I'm a mother now, and I have a daughter who's 4.
Yeah. I say things that suggest that I know more than I really do. But there's evidence out there that it's almost never any fun for the girl on the first occasion.
I can only speak for myself. I agree with that, but like I said, I can only speak for myself.
Sometimes I regret my age, but I don't regret the relationship. But I do wish that maybe I would have waited a while, even now.
Why?
Because I was so young, and I mean, when I was little, I used to just can't wait. Now, I'm a teenager, and it's here so fast.
Hi, are you there, caller?
Yes, I am. I'm an 8th grade teacher. Also, I'm aware that the parents aren't doing enough to educate their children about sex or about protecting themselves. And I know what they're going through, like I said, but on the same thing, my parents educated me, and as that yet. And if they don't do it, they're not, obviously the kids are not getting it. So where does it come from?
Where do you think?
I think the parents should be doing it, but I also think the teachers should be able to reinforce it.
I think it's up to the people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rachel.
I think it's up to the person, the kid or the teenager, because it was up to me. My parents educated me, and I had all this sex education, and it was just stupid.
So you weren't some naive
No.
butterfly out there.
No,
Not
I
at
want
all.
to say something, too.
Certainly.
I think, too, it's also the gender. Like, I've tried talking to my son, and he didn't want to hear from Dad. He did not want to talk about certain subject matters with me, and so, you know, I think it's not just that you don't say it.
Ginger, you wanted to say.
Yes, I don't know if it's gender or not because I have both a daughter and a son, and I found it more difficult to talk with my daughter than I did with my son. But the point I wanted to make before is we were talking about girls, their first time not being a pleasant experience. And I think we have the attitude that with boys, they love it all the time and their first time is a great experience. But I want to tell you that when I found out my son's first experience, it was because I was up watching TV late and he came home from being out and he sat down on the couch next to me, which was kind of unusual for him. And he had this very bewildered look about him, this very confused look about him. And I asked him what was when he told me what had happened. So I don't think this attitude that we have that maybe boys are out there just gung-ho and they having a great time maybe isn't really true, because I think maybe boys do have some emotional involvement that first time, and it's not all fun and games. They have some experience there that's valid.
Well said, Ginger Ashland, and we'll be back in just a moment.
He raped my daughter.
She made the first move on me.
Did you tell him stop?
I told him no.
You did? And what did he say?
He said,
Little girls, they go out, they dress up, they show it all. They're all over these boys.
At 13 years old, why would you take your clothes off and lay on a bed with somebody 19?
That's the question that I ask you to stay tuned for.
You haven't seen it till you see it on Geraldo.
Tuesday afternoon at 4, here on 13.
Experience the delight. Experience the delirious. Experience the divine. Bette Midler. Back by popular demand, June 22nd and 23rd at Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion with mermaids, rock and roll, and so much heart and soul. Hear the classic hits. See the classic, what rhymes with hit? Get tickets now at Ticketmaster or charge by phone. Don't miss Bette Midler.
I did something that changed my life. Now I want to tell other women who live with the problem I once had. My bust developed early and became really large, too large. For years, I felt like a freak. I got a lot of attention I didn't want. Then I had surgery. My insurance helped with the cost, and what a difference. If your bust is too large, trust me. Find out about breast reduction surgery.
For more information, call the Institute of Cosmetic Surgery at 62.
Okay, Ethel, hit the lights. Here's our trip to Houston, Texas. There's Ethel and the kids in front of the skyline, and that's a news van going through there. Oh, we went out to NASA. There's Billy with the space shuttle and another one of those news vans. Oh, here's Ethel eating one of those Tahitis. Hi, Ethel. Oh, now, here's the 8th wonder of the world. No, not you, Ethel. This great news van again. Billy, cut that out. Oh, we went out to Pasadena to visit Aunt Martha, and,
there's that news van again.
Jay and Andrea, I'm sorry, yes, Jay Wyden Keller is here. So is Andrea Warren. You wrote, and your daughter Alex is 18. Your book is titled Everybody's Doing It. May we assume including your kids?
Somewhat, that's right.
And you're not surprised by any of the testimony we've heard so far?
No.
And what would you want to say to us after listening in on these folks and feeling the energies of these thoughtful adults in our audience who want to somehow get back in charge here? These stats are pretty alarming. Who wants first?
Yeah. I would like to hear more from the audience, certainly, because I think there's just an incredible amount of energy out there with relationship to this topic. And with what they've been saying, it's true no matter where you go, whether you're talking to adults, talking to children, you're going to find that people believe that it's they're doing, but you also hear comments, I need information. And the kid's saying, but I need something. That's where we tried to focus on what was causing that to miss, that communication between young people and adults.
I wonder if this whole argument isn't somehow arrested or at least not allowed to reach out and provide more information because we've got the never do it, be a virgin against, oh, please be realistic. And that there may be a middle ground, and we have to expect adolescent people, on average, to be interested in some kind of lovemaking. How am I doing here?
Perfect.
Yeah, you're doing great.
But that lovemaking does not have to include intercourse.
That's right, it does not have to. But more and more these days it does.
But I wonder if intercourse is seen as the only option in lovemaking.
You're right. I think that's very true.
Well, help me, Mom. I'm about to go down for the third time here.
No, I think the focus is in school, it's sex education, it's the mechanics, it's the physical part of it. And I think that the kids don't get enough information about the other part of it, the emotional part of it, the attachment part of it. And I think that's what confuses a lot of them.
Yes. Yes.
I think since the beginning of the show, we've been calling the young adults kids and boys and girls, and they're not. These people are adults.
Yes,
we have to talk to them. That's how.
That's a very...
Yes. Well, about the education, it's like parents educate, because my mother educates me, but it's more of like, well, don't do it, don't do it. It's not, but if you do it, here's what you do. You know? Yeah. And I think there should be more education like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But if we say, if you do it, we're afraid you're going to think we're giving you permission.
Well, no, they can say, I don't want you to do it, but it should be, if you do it, use protection.
I think it's unfortunate that the hormones are activated so many years before the brain. The bottom line in a parental relationship, as in any other relationship, is communication. My daughter's not quite 13, but I've told her everything, and she knows that she can come to me and ask me anything and tell me anything, so I'm hoping for the best with her.
Your daughter knows everything.
Everything that there is to know.
When did you first talk to her?
When she watched her brother being born. I had a home
How old
birth.
was
She was
she?
2.5. She watched her brother be born. I explained to her how he got there.
You didn't talk about erection and stuff like that, did you?
No, but I rented a film that was meant just for that purpose. I let her watch an animated intercourse on film.
Really? Well, that sounds like that's going to help a little bit. That's what I'm looking for, is a videotape. Yeah. Really? You know, you have to have a videotape to tell you how to operate your VCR. We should have one for this.
I think the kids today still know right from wrong. And it's kind of sad when they have nothing to look forward to. I really do. I mean, there's something special about waiting. I mean, I'm not that old and I'm not a prude, but there's something special about your first night.
I would just like to say that sex is something that's shared between two people. So whether you try it, I mean, it's always going to be a problem, no matter how old or young you are. And it's always a journey. It's always a discovery between two people. So you can continue to find out more.
So
no.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Pure natural.
Here with your son, Scott, 14, who tells us, yes, no, he has not had sex, but he is curious. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I want to say is I'm a family therapist, and I find that a lot of adolescents come into my office and they'll reveal a lot to me that they won't to their parents and openly discuss it. And communicating and sharing things is important information, but it's also around safety. Kids have to feel that when they're discussing this with their parents, it feels safe.
Yeah.
And one of the ways it feels safe is to not be jumped on or be judged around it and to listen.
Another point is, well, they keep saying adults, we have to communicate with our children, and yet most of the people my age have been divorced 2 and 3 times. Where do we become the experts in relationships?
I also think it's important to know that not all teenagers are doing it. I have a lot of friends who are still virgins, and some of them just want to have sex, just haven't found the right person that they want to share the first time with.
But they are committed to the activity, so to speak, huh?
But a lot of I have a couple friends who want to wait until they're married still. And they firmly believe in that, and they've been in this situation, have had the situation right there and said, no, I want to wait.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Yes, I am.
You wanted to say?
I just wanted to comment on the importance of parents talking to their children about sex. Sex wasn't an issue in my house, and after I graduated college, right after I graduated college, I got pregnant, and that just ruined my plans to go to college. And what to do? I had to go out and get a job and support myself and my son.
The father is not in the baby's life?
Now he is, yes. At the time, he wasn't interested, but luckily...
Yeah. Did you marry him?
No, we didn't.
And how old's your baby?
Now he's a month. Not a month, a year.
A year old.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making it, though, somehow.
Trying. I mean, I had plans to go to college. I just wish that I had waited. I feel that if my parents had talked to me about sex, maybe it would have turned out different.
I thank you for your... Please.
She really has brought forth what we think is the major point here, and that is that we've got 2 generations who do not know how to talk about sex, and yet our generation, we came through the 60s and free love and so forth, and we're supposed to be able to know how to do that. We're all raised back in the 50s with a lot of guilt, and then we got into the 60s with free love, but we brought that guilt right on through with us. Anything that we caught at that time, penicillin would take care of. But it's a different world today. And we don't know how to talk to our children about sex. Our parents couldn't talk to us, and we're not doing it with our kids. And we had done the birds and the bees and the plumbing and all the rest of it with our 2 daughters, and it wasn't enough. We had a child who decided that she was old enough, that she was in a committed relationship, and she went ahead. And it was a real shock for us. We had to back up and we hadn't done in the area of communications, but that's only after the family was thrown into a lot of crisis over this.
One thing I'd add also, is that you have to remember what's going on in an adolescent's life during this period of time. Somebody mentioned raging hormones, I think, and that's very true. To separate from parents, establish their own identity, and it's also a time of sexual development and maturation. It is very normal, and I think if we can accept that it's a normal behavior. The other issues that we've got out there, whether they should do it or not do it, is an acculturation. It's something that we have laid on top of young people today. And we need to understand that part of what has fallen down are the roles, and we've talked about roles and being the role of a parent. That also has changed. As Andy mentioned, we grew up, those of us that are 35, 40, grew up with those values from the 40s and 50s. But young people today have grown up with the values of the 60s. They've grown up with civil rights, women's rights, and they arrive with a sense that I am an individual. I have certain liberties, which is much different than what we had.
Do I understand, Alex, that you really kind of scared the hell out of your parents when you were a teenager, so? Well, you still are. You're 18?
Yes.
Because they discovered that you were... Is this how we would say this, huh?
Yeah, you could say that.
And no regrets on your part? Because you always knew that, you always what? You ensured that you were protected? I don't know. I mean...
My parents gave me the information. I mean, she says they talk about the birds and the bees and the plumbing, but I mean, they really gave me and my other sister a lot more than that. They gave us the whole line that are out there about pregnancy, about the cost, about everything that can happen. And the only thing that they gave more to me than probably I could give to somebody else right now, but they didn't take back. They didn't listen to what I had to say. They didn't listen to my feelings.
What is it you were saying that they weren't hearing?
Hey, I want to have sex. I've got these feelings. I've got these hormones. Instead of condemning me, you don't have to condone what I want to do, but don't condemn me.
We didn't want to hear that. We didn't want her to feel that way.
I have to break here with the clock ticking. I'm sorry to be so voyeuristic, Alex, but if we don't talk to real live people about... Your first intimacy was when you were how old?
16.
And I assume then you remained sexually active throughout from 16 on. Now you're real old at 18. You never had any feeling about being used by a boy, or you never had any... They're going down the drain here. First of all, let's understand something here. Excuse me. The free love era, you know, it's wrong to think, first of all, that everybody in the 60s was doing it at Woodstock. Some were. Many that were did feel an emptiness afterward. It's also wrong to say boys will be boys and there's testosterone. I think Ginger's comment about boys being just as ambivalent and vulnerable and all those other things that we don't normally, you know, we've got to start these sharp-edged stereotypes that we seem to have. That girls who do are loose, all boys can't keep it in their pants, boys have no emotional contribution in this activity. All these are myths. To be sure, there are people like this, but that's wrong to have
a couple of other things, too. We've got a couple of things that we are not doing here. We know that we've got a populace of sexually active teens protect themselves. We know the protection is there. But we've got two other tasks. We've got to teach our sons to not take advantage of girls and to know the meaning of the word no. And we've got to teach our daughters not to get into sexually compromising situations.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Everybody's doing it. This is a paperback. Wiedenkeller, or Wiedenkeller, and Andrea Warren are man, wife. Yes, they have real live children who have been known, or one of whom has been known to do it. Don't say what it is, because then everybody will giggle. Yes.
I think it's sad that teenagers are getting involved so early.
Well, we got to stop the hand-wringing here. You may think it's sad, but it's happening. And we don't get anywhere by standing around the grave of our innocence and saying, oh, I'm sad. What are we going to do?
Well, my question was, where do you feel the pressure? Is it from friends, or do you feel the movies or TV? I mean, 14-year-olds that's pretty young.
The only pressure I really feel, communication with my dad. That's the only pressure I felt. I didn't feel pressured into doing it at first.
What was the pressure you felt? You mean your dad was saying, don't do it?
Well, I felt pressure about letting him know about it. I didn't feel pressure that I have to do this or else I'm not going to be accepted. I didn't feel that at all.
You know, Phil, a lot of times Rachel has told me that she wanted to protect me. And I must have conveyed something to Rachel and possibly to her sisters as well. That because she wanted to protect me. I was
I would not
afraid
want
of
to
it.
tell my dad.
But Phil,
I wouldn't want to do it.
We spend all of this time talking to our young people about either don't do it, or if you're going to do it, you need to be protected, keep it safe. But we never talk about intimacy, about relationships, about how to determine when you're ready to have a sexual relationship. So the kids don't know. The only message they hear is don't do it, or you're going to end up with something if you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Is religion and the Bible gone where you're supposed to be married
Yeah.
or have sex?
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, this is.
That's it. It's like it's gone. There's nothing. There's
That can
nothing
be really
left.
controversial. Some of us didn't grow up with the Bible. I didn't grow up with.
Is that gone though? Be like religion for the family.
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know.
But even if you are religious, you still are going to have to communicate to your children about these other issues.
Right, but okay. No, that's good.
I'm a teenager myself, and I think that if you're going to have sex, that you have to be able to handle the responsibilities that will come along. And I have a best friend that has a baby just like she does, but my best friend had her baby at 14. And she handles her baby very well, and she really loves her child.
Bill, back on the issue.
Yes, there was a comment made earlier that we should treat these teenagers as adults, but have you guys thought about the adult decision that you might have to make if your partner came up pregnant?
Have you thought about that, guys?
That's part of the reason why I haven't had sex is because I figured if I got someone pregnant, I wouldn't be living in my house anymore.
I think communication and education is very important, but it will do nothing unless to start that from the day they're born.
I agree.
And we need the support of everyone. It doesn't just come from parents, it comes from school, it comes from everyone.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
But now there's new Lime-A-Way Extra. Lime-A-Way foams on contact as it penetrates. Crusty lime scale and hard water stains, leaving your home clean and shiny. Get Lime-A-Way with Lime-A-Way. And now, for everyday soap scum and hard water film, there's Lime-A-Way Impact Basin Tub and Tile Cleaner.
#1 preferred burger in America, and the Whopper is just 99 cents every day. 99 cents for the #1 burger. We may not be the world's #1 fast food place, it just tastes that way. The Flame Broiled Whopper with the everyday price of just 99 cents at Burger King. Now save $3 on general admission to Splashtown with coupons from Burger King. Experience the sheer fear of the new Texas freefall only at Splashtown, the cool.
New York 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Here are some more stats you might... 15 to 19, 54% had engaged in sex. That's up from 29% in 1970. The average age for the first intercourse in America is 16. 1 in 4 sexually active teenagers will contract transmitted disease. Think about that. That's 25% of all teenagers will wind up with chlamydia. Well, I mean, what do they got here? Gonorrhea. I'd go through all these names, but I don't have time. 1 in 90 American teens currently carry the AIDS virus. And America has the highest teenage pregnancy rate in the world. 1 in 4 girls will become pregnant before turning 20. Yes?
I just want to say that I think parents have to do more than be information sources for their children. They have to be friends to their children, so their children can feel free to approach them as friends and talk about intimacy and relationships. It's not just information.
Time running out.
This is my teenage son. He's always known that he can talk to you about anything, but it's a hard subject to talk about, and I'm sure that comes to
Yeah, I don't guess he's got, he's not thrilled about talking to you about it.
No, he knows he can, but I'm sure that it's strange, and I'm sure that it's hard for me to talk about. I'm sure that comes across to him.
But you can find
many people in my generation were having sex too. I think if you go back to the generation prior, many people in the 1950s were having sex too. Isn't that true, Phil? Isn't that true, Phil?
No, we were.
In my generation, there was either a lot of liars or a lot of people were doing it too. One of the two.
If sex was more related to love instead of a score sheet, there wouldn't be that many problems.
You wanted to say, oh, I'm sorry.
I totally agree with them. I think parents should be a lot more open about sexual subjects with their kids, definitely.
I think we need to change the attitude about sex in America.
Yeah, from what to what, Amy?
How secret it is. I think it should be a more open topic.
I think it's easy for parents to teach kids about the whole deal of it, but I think they should teach more about respect and love, and not just getting AIDS and wearing condoms.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Mom, there's some Sunny D.
My kids can have Sunny Delight in the morning or anytime. Like orange juice, it's got a full day's...
Same wholesome meals you enjoy at your own family dinner table. And now we've made all your favorites even more appealing. Introducing Wyatt's new value plates. Your choice of any full portion entree, any 2 delicious vegetables, and fresh baked bread. Depending on which entree you select, it's just $3.99, $4.99, or $5.99 every day. And that'll make any family feel right at home. Wyatt's, everybody's favorite every day.
The book is titled Everybody's Doing It, How to Survive Your Teenage Sex Life and Help You. No small issue in this day of STDs. You wanted to say, the authors of the book, you're 18 years old, and you want to say what, please?
To everybody sitting in this audience and watching the show, you don't know what it's like to have bad communication until your parents have sex and include your life in it.
So they went to school on you, did they? Are you there? Are you there, caller? You wanted to say briefly.
I'm 20 years old, and I'm a virgin, and I think that if two people really love each other, they can hold off and wait until they're out of school, and then when they do finally have sex, it's great.
Yeah. What do you say, Amy? You know, yes, the question is, we're pleased about that. Yeah. How old was
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Iowa's NSX 5200 mini system features a 3-day